This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
All right, everybody. Dual show coming up. We're going to get through the mailbag as quickly as we can because we've got some interesting preview and predictions to talk about with the Money in the Bank event that is coming from coming to you tomorrow night. And a lot that could happen and a lot that I think will happen as we have finally moved away from really WrestleMania hangover and that kind of thing. And I think it's time to really start looking forward to SummerSlam and all that could come, all the potential returns, Charlotte, to Brock Lesnar potentially, to The Rock, to Roman Reigns, the most anticipated return in recent memory. I would even argue that Roman's return, the anticipation for it, supersedes The Rock's anticipation for his inevitable return. So a lot coming to you in the next 24 hours. As we get into yet another PLE, and then really right around the corner is SummerSlam, as I said, but it's not a long build to SummerSlam. We've only got 4 weeks, which feels still quick for SummerSlam, but they'll have enough star power to make it feel like a massive event, and things are going to get real fun real quick around here. So we're going to get to the mailbag, and we're going to do that in just a minute. First, though, since it is SummerSlam season, pretty much, and we have a PLE tomorrow night, I would like to invite those of you who have not gone ad-free to do so you don't have to listen to those ads on our review shows and everything else after that. Head on over to Patreon and get yourself an ad-free experience and get yourself into the Discord server because all patrons behind the paywall do get access to the Discord server because that means you can chat with all the other patrons of the show. So let's get to it, guys. Let's talk to the patrons as quickly as we can here, and then we'll, if we have time, then anybody outside of the Patreon realm, we'll chat with them as well. Let's first talk to Matt Brown, and he says, hope you had a good 4th. Well, you too. I just want to say I think Drew wins the Money in the Bank, and when he goes to cash in at the end of the night, Punk screws him again. What do you think? Thank you, and have a good weekend. That's absolutely possible. That way, you know, when Drew wins, you're thinking to yourself, wait a minute, Punk didn't screw Drew? He let Drew get the briefcase? But you're right. You could have a second part to that where Drew cashes in, but as he's about to, Punk screws him again. That is a really, really solid prediction. The only argument against that would be that you would have the Money in the Bank squandered the same night as the PLE. So you don't have that looming question over the next 12 months, potentially, of, wow, that person still has the briefcase. They could cash in. That person's still looming. So it does take a little bit of creative away from WWE. If they're willing to sacrifice that for the Punk-Drew rivalry, then sure. And I actually have no problem with it. Because it felt like Damian Priest carried it for 25 months last year. I mean, it felt like Damian Priest carried it well beyond the 12 months. So I have nothing against it. That's a great prediction. All right, let's get to Thomas Franco. He hasn't wrote in a while. Another great patron. Says, been a while since I wrote in, but I figured this would be the perfect time since I'll be attending Money in the Bank this Saturday from school. Wow, you're attending? You go to all these awesome events, I have to say. I won't be available to do a review show on Sunday night, but I could always hop on the Weekend Review and Raw if you're up for it. I'm not good at commitment on this show lately because of my schedule, so if I do find time and I have a solid time, I'll let you know. In terms of the product, I'm loving the amount of stories and importance that a lot of segments are getting. Not just the main event, but undercard segments with Braun Breaker, Ludwig, and even Grayson Waller and Austin Theory on SmackDown are being given time. My only issue with the post-Mania product is Bayley has been a complete afterthought. It seems like they've just completely forgotten about her. I hope Nia Jax beats her at SummerSlam, and hopefully we get Tiffany winning the Money in the Bank, only to cash in and beat her real-life friend Nia for the title. Keep up the good work. Thanks, Tom. And I have been making this a sticking point on my show too, really even prior to Mania, is that Bayley has been, an afterthought is being generous. You know, her and Io, as I've said many times, have really shown that they can work well together and had a hell of a match at WrestleMania. And I'm thinking, okay, post-Mania or pre-Mania build wasn't great. They had a banger at WrestleMania. And you're thinking, okay, here we go. Back to the Bayley show. They're finally going to give her the time she deserves. And no. I mean, she doesn't even get matches on SmackDown. She gets backstage useless throwaway segments of her just watching other people's matches and having random comments about them or random interactions with other women. She doesn't feel like she's the champion. I don't know what it is and why they have decided to not give Bayley almost any time or really to see what this babyface character of Bayley can do, which we still have not seen. But I am disappointed. And that's one of the things that I have been critical about. And there'll always be things that you can't do everything all at once. It's whack-a-mole when it comes to creative. You can't focus on everyone all the time. It's cycles. I get that. But this has been a forgotten mole to whack, so to speak. Weird analogy, but you get it. That WWE has not just paid attention to at all. And you're right. I mean, I actually hope Nia Jax wins. I'm with you because I think she'd be more interesting than Bayley. And again, that's not Bayley's fault. It's creative that has just decided that she's not important enough to give multiple segments to or really make a focal point. So it is a bit disappointing on that front. And I think Nia Jax, while she's been champion once, I've been corrected on that because I did forget, she would be more interesting. And I think Nia Jax as champion is more fun. Bayley's run as a babyface champion has been an utter disappointment. And that's no shade on Bayley herself, who's doing with what she can, what she's given. And that's not a lot. So I'm with you. All right, Tom, thank you. Enjoy the event. Another patron, AJ. Hi, all. With the clips from WrestleMania 41 making their round on Twitter from the main event again, it continues to sadden me when the gong hits instead of the glass shattering. As I've said, I'm not the biggest fan of Cody, Roman, or Rock, so watching that finale was a huge disappointment. Do you think it would be fitting to have Stone Cold intervene in a Rock-Roman match in the future, or what capacity do you think you could realistically return, whether it's for a moment or a match? I know you want Rock Brock, but what about Brock Austin? I meant WrestleMania 40. Yeah, I know what you meant. Yeah. So you're talking about WrestleMania 40, not WrestleMania 41. Yep. AJ, I have been on, I'm glad you brought this up. Lately, I've been continually sad about it. I have not felt better. Like my feelings about it have not improved. Look, Undertaker, legend. He is, there's nothing you could say in the English language that would give him enough respect for what he's done for WWE and professional wrestling, just period. Right? That's not a slight on Mark Calloway. It's nothing to do with him, but he didn't fit in that segment. It was Austin's to be had. And it's not, if Mark Calloway felt good about closing his career that way, that he felt it was closure for him, cool, awesome. If I had a choice, it was Austin's to be had. It was not Undertaker. That felt very random. What beef does the Undertaker have with Rock? What exactly is the beef? Someone tell me. Again, cool, nostalgic, Attitude Era-esque moment. No doubt about it. Chill-inducing moment. But Austin was the man for the job to stun The Rock. I had predicted that main event finish correctly for weeks. And I'm not tooting my own horn, but it was the best way that they could have done it, and they did it the best they could. Now, what we heard was that Austin couldn't come to terms financially with the company. That, in so many words, it seems like they weren't offering him what Austin felt he deserved. That's what it seems like. And it seems shallow on Austin's end. Oh, it's money. But you know what? He is the biggest star of all time. And if you felt you're being disrespected by the offer on the table, then I understand why he did what he did. I get it. But as fans, it's disappointing. It's disappointing that you had that moment ready to go. The pop would have, I think, been greater than The Undertaker's. I think it would have doubled The Undertaker's pop to have Austin be the one to come out, stun The Rock. Cody still wins, and that's fine. But you're right. Now, as far as moving forward, I think Austin may not be done when it comes to stunners and interfering, and maybe we get that moment with The Rock. It still could happen. How does it happen? Well, WrestleMania 40's come and gone, but The Rock and Roman could still have a match. I don't know what the beef would now be. Like, you can't have this same setup where one comes out after the other. Each one that comes out is a subsequently bigger star, ending with the pinnacle of Austin coming out. I mean, you've already run that train. You can't really run that creative again. But we do have a scenario, I think, that would present itself where The Rock could run down every previous legend, saying he's the biggest star of all time, continuing to run down the crowd, saying that, or maybe run down Texas as Kevin Owens did. And, I mean, there is a way to get Austin to still stun The Rock, not to start a rivalry with The Rock or have a match with The Rock and Austin, but to get to that moment that we all, I think, were cheated out of at WrestleMania. And I know it sounds like I'm a spoiled wrestling fan, but when it comes down to WrestleMania, and if WWE wasn't willing to shell out enough money to make that moment happen, then shame on the company. You're telling me they're not in a good enough financial situation to be able to afford a couple more zeros on a check to bring Stone Cold Steve Austin in for a moment that we'll never forget at a time that you can't go back to, that you'll never be able to recreate at WrestleMania 40? Give me a break. So I kind of put this on the company if they weren't willing to give Austin as much as he wanted for that moment. But you could still have it. And I don't know how or when that happens, but I still think we deserve that moment. One more stunner on The Rock, just for good old sake. I mean, imagine the time, or imagine the reaction. So it's still possible. Brock Austin, I have wanted forever. They've teased that. I think it's unlikely, given that Austin has seemingly kind of backed away from wrestling a little bit here again since WrestleMania 38. So it's been a couple years since he's been actively in the ring. And we have Brock, who's not even, back at all yet. And when he does come back, I think that The Rock makes a lot of sense. Of course, Gunther has been the name thrown out there for a while, but boy, oh boy, AJ, I could talk about this forever. All right. Thank you, buddy. Let's go to Levi. Another patron says, here are my Money in the Bank predictions. Chad Gable wins the Money in the Bank ladder match with help from the Creed brothers. Tiffany Stratton wins the Money in the Bank ladder match for the women. Seth wins the World Heavyweight Championship with, quote, help from the Judgment Day as their way of kicking Priest out of the group. Sami Zayn retains the IC title. The Bloodline defeats Rhodes, Orton, and Owens. And as far as the future for Bloodline, I think we get Cody versus Solo for the championship at SummerSlam, with a returning Roman to set up Roman's reigns and Solo at the rumored Bad Blood PPV. Enjoy Money in the Bank. Levi, I will respond to these in short order with my predictions. Again, hard for me to respond to those kinds of emails without giving away my own predictions. So I like it, Levi. I'll just say that. Okay. This is, let's see, Dave, another patron, says, hope all is well. Going to keep this short as possible since I have a few things I want to mention. Picture this. CM Punk is hurt. Drew McIntyre is climbing the ladder, alone in the ring. Looks at the hard cam, shows off the bracelet he's wearing that belonged to CM Punk instead of grabbing the case. AJ Lee returns, pushes over the ladder, and costs Drew the match. Yeah, okay, so the fact that Drew brought in the family makes sense that AJ might return to, in defense of her family name. But what does that mean for AJ then? I mean, she can't face Drew McIntyre, obviously. What is she going to do? Go on a tear in the women's division? Or just, you're saying, in a cameo appearance? AJ Lee returning would be people would lose their minds. Do I think it's going to happen? I was more of the belief that AJ could return to face Seth and Becky, but now that Becky's kind of stepped away and that match with Seth has yet to happen, I think it's unlikely, but AJ Lee returning, I think, would make everybody happy. Okay, SummerSlam, Cody versus Solo main events. Cody wins, and as he's standing in the ring with Solo, sitting up in the corner of the ring, the Tribal Chief's music hits. He walks to the ring. He and Cody stare off. Then the camera slowly pans to show Roman staring at Solo while Roman walks past Cody, beats Solo's ass, perfect return. Well, I don't know if Roman off the bat is going to attack Solo. I think he has reason to now. And the reason is he attacked Paul Heyman viciously. And Paul Heyman is very close with Roman Reigns. So it's now that seal has been broken, Roman does have a reason to do that. I think personally what'll happen is when Roman does make his return, whether it's at Money in the Bank or SummerSlam or very shortly thereafter, you're going to have Paul Heyman walking out on stage, laughing and having an evil smile on his face as he comes out and smiles at Solo, and then the Tribal Chiefs music hits with Roman and Paul Heyman in tow, walking to the ring, confronting Solo Sikoa. Again, in whatever scenario it is, pre-match, post-match, during a promo, that's what's going to happen. It reminds me very much, if you guys remember back to 2000, those of you that watched back then, when Paul Bearer aligned himself with Kane, one of the times anyway, he did it a few times, and it was 2000, and I think it was the summer of 2000. Austin was, I think, injured at that point, out with he might have been. Anyway, it was in 2000, and we had Kane come back, but who came out first was Paul Bearer, and he came out in a red jacket, stood there, no music, no entrance music, and just smiled. And he had this evil grin on his face, and then Kane's music hit. And I think that's going to be a very similar return to what's going to happen with Roman's return. Is Paul Heyman comes out, no music, just stands there, looks concerned, maybe feigns like he's going to get his ass beat again, a little bit, hesitant. And then all of a sudden his concerned face is going to turn to a evil, maniacal, you done effed up face, and Roman's music's going to hit, and here he comes. So again, I don't know when, but I think that's how they do it. Money to Make prediction. Tiffany Stratton wins with the help of Nia Jax. Also, since you seem to be still confused why the Wyatt Six are targeting Chad Gable, it's because he, quote, turned his back on his family. Guess they haven't watched any episodes showcasing the bloodline in a few years. Sorry if this was long. Also, a WWE exclusive digital comment teased more Gable and Creed brothers. Hope all is well. And Popcat, thank you, David. I appreciate it. Thank you for clearing that up. Yeah, I mean, the Wyatts, I was trying to figure out their motivations for why they're attacking who they are. And I mean, I don't know what the production crew had anything to do with it a few weeks ago when they debuted. I mean, essentially, committing, mass murder, seemingly, of course, in the production area backstage. But I understand, and I appreciate the clarification. All right, let's go to DJ. He says, for the 7th time this year, we are heading towards another PLE from Toronto, the Money in the Bank event. Interesting to note that on this card, there are no women's championship matches. This is the 3rd straight PLE with 5 matches. I guess the less is more concept is the go-along theme for the most PLEs except WrestleMania 40. And finally, this PLE is back to a 7 p.m. East Coast start time, making it the first since WrestleMania 40 that could actually watch and interact with fellow patrons in real time in the Discord chat. Anyway, let's get to the preview. DJ Kuzmo Money in the Bank preview and predictions and no spoilers. For the Money in the Bank women's ladder match, you predict that Tiffany Stratton will win. You're saying that main event Jey Uso will win the men's Money in the Bank briefcase. But a case can be made for Drew to win if the ladder match is not the main event. I agree. Cody, KO, and Randy versus the Rogue Bloodline. You're predicting Cody's team to get the win, but which of the members of the Bloodline will be in this match, since technically there are 4. Yeah, that's a good point. Damian and Seth for the world title. I'm predicting that Priest retains. Wow. Okay. Bold move, DJ, but I don't hate it. Sammy versus Braun Breaker for the IC title. You're predicting that none other than Braun Breaker will become the new Intercontinental Champion. I'm looking at it as Breaker's path to the main event status, since He wasn't included in King of the Ring and the Money in the Bank ladder match. Plus, every week on Raw has been booked as a dominant force that cannot be stopped. Sammy could be moving on at some point to the OG Bloodline reunion via some sort of trade from Raw to SmackDown in exchange for LA Knight and Charlotte whenever she returns. DJ Kuzma signing off. Enjoy the Money in the Bank. Have a great weekend. See you all in the Discord chat for SmackDown and Money in the Bank. Thanks, DJ. Good stuff. All right. Let's talk to, let's see. I know we've got, let's talk to John. And he says, I have a couple questions and Money in the Bank predictions. 1, where did Solo get the necklace? I can't see Roman just handing it to him. And the first words out of Paul Heyman's mouth when it was handed to Solo was, where did you get that? I've heard a couple of theories that The Rock had possession of it, but not sure how true that is. I don't know. The answer is I don't know. But here's the thing. I have been steadfast on my assumption that The Rock is behind Solo doing what he's doing. And that The Rock is the one calling the shots on what Solo's doing. And everything that Solo's doing, he's getting permission from The Rock to do. But we won't be told that, or that won't be revealed for several months. Which will lead, hopefully, to maybe a Roman Rock match. But again, if we're continuing to build to Rock and Cody, I don't like it. Now, again, in a few months, when this thing starts to heat up, I could change my tune, and I think we're all subject to change our minds. Of course we are. But on the surface, I still want the damn Rock-Roman match. Please, can we just get it before one of them either becomes injured or uninterested or some tragedy happens? Can we please get Rock-Roman? I don't care. I don't even care anymore who's heel and babyface. I still want the traditional Rock as a babyface, Roman as a heel, but Rock as a heel has been so damn good, and Roman right now as a babyface is going to be the biggest thing the company has, so I don't even care anymore. Just give me the damn match before something catastrophic happens and it's never possible. On a side note, if you guys haven't seen the documentary that WWE put out for the whole WrestleMania 40 behind the curtain, it's an hour long describing how the whole wild scenario of Cody being out and then back into the main event of WrestleMania happened. It's worth a watch. Very interesting on how the whole thing transpired. It was as chaotic as we imagined it was backstage. If you haven't seen it, and I'm not trying to spoil anything for any of you that haven't seen it, worth a watch. And some of the YouTubers that are out there have gotten some notoriety on the documentary. Pretty wild. Those of you, now this may be a name you don't recognize or do. Wheezy Blonde. She was on there. I think a couple others that you guys may watch. But pretty wild. I mean, imagine if you're a YouTuber thinking no one's watching, or a Twitch streamer that WWE's not watching and they are, and they pull that footage out and throw it on there. Pretty damn cool. Pretty damn cool. So, oh, by the way, there's footage in that documentary of Cody jogging with his stupid dog. So they put that in there, I think, just to piss me off. I understand people jog with their dogs, but it just fits him to a T in a way that annoys the hell out of me. I don't know. If I never see his dog again, it'll be too soon. Nothing against the dog himself, but it's just Cody's character is the problem I have with it. But anyway, moving on. Number 2, I loved Seth and Priest's promo the other day, and I almost felt a bit of respect there between the two. I like Seth telling Priest he is strong without the Judgment Day and doesn't need them. It makes me wonder if they're setting up for either a Priest split from the Judgment Day and or a Priest babyface turn. I still think Priest beats Rollins at Money in the Bank, but it's a match I can see going either way, really. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm hard to respond to predictions, but intelligent response, John. That's all I can say right now. Number 3, and finally, you think Stratton wins. Her and Nia continue their friendship. Nia's going to beat Bayley at SummerSlam, turn into a bossy friend towards Stratton, leading to a Stratton eventually turning on her and cashing in on Nia after SummerSlam. As for the IC title, I think Sammy were to beat Braun, there's an argument to be made for Gable. Wait. That sentence is incomplete, but I'll move on. There's an argument to be made for Gable winning so he can cash in on Sammy. Outside of that, I think it's Jay or Drew. I'll go with Jay winning, but I think they're going to hold on to it. He's going to hold on to it for a long time. Okay. That's all I can say. I hate to be so facetious, but okay. All right. Let's go to Freeman. He says, I don't know how to put into words how much I was shocked by Paul Heyman going through a table. I thought for certain he was off limits for bumps, and certainly something like that was, given his size. Paul Heyman isn't exactly of an age or fitness level to take bumps like that, and we need to really appreciate what he did. But also, the strength of Jacob Fatu, having a man that size on his shoulders. You saw Tongaloa visibly strain and struggle to do the three-man lift, so Jacob Fatu must have had a hard time doing the move safely, but executed it perfectly. I can't wait to see him in the ring proper. That's something that's an interesting point, Freeman, one that I don't think a lot of us are talking about or thinking about as fans, is the strength it took to get Paul Heyman up. And it's not that these guys aren't super strong to begin with, but here's the thing. Everyone you work with is trying to help you and usually can help you with the lift, especially with a power bomb, right? They have the ability to use their own leg power to help you get them up. Paul Heyman can't do that. So you're lifting complete dead weight. And I mean that respectfully. But Paul Heyman's not an athlete. He would be the first to tell you that. We all know that. You have to lift Paul Heyman with zero help. He's not going to help you because he can't. So, yeah, that's a good point. And him doing the bump, at least, here's the good thing. The fact that he took the bump tells you that Paul Heyman's in better health than I think a lot of us realize. He wouldn't have been cleared to take the bump if the medical team didn't feel that he could absorb that bump. As safe as it was, there's still inherent risks. So it kind of gives you a little bit of an insight into Paul Heyman's health, which is, again, better than some people probably think it is. All right. Again, he's overweight, no doubt, but other than that, he probably is in decent health. Okay. For Money in the Bank predictions, I think women's is an easy choice because of the ongoing Liv and Rhea story. They won't give the Money in the Bank to someone on Raw and potentially upset the whole dynamic. Between Naomi, Chelsea, and Tiffany, I think we can rule out Naomi. So my money's on Chelsea, who will have a good time parading the briefcase around before given the honor of being the first woman's failed cash-in. But I would also not be surprised if Tiffany took it. Let's see here. I lost my spot. For the men's, it's more of a story of who will be the one to interfere with the bloodline, Punk. Who will be the one to interfere with the bloodline? Punk, Wyatt Six, and Logan Paul all being options. I had no idea have no idea how it's going to go, but one option I like is the Wyatt Six will interfere, costing Gable the match, and Drew will win. Drew then cashes in during the Seth and Priest match, turning to a triple threat. Punk thwarts the cash-in attempt in some way, but the distraction allows Priest to pin Seth, letting Priest retain by the other's interference once again. Yeah, I think everyone's kind of landing on Punk is going to screw Drew, whether it's before he gets the briefcase or after he gets it trying to cash in. Punk is and will, I think, show up. Bit of an early spoiler there. Good stuff, Freeman. Thank you. All right, couple more patrons, and then we'll be on to the preview and prediction show. This is from Logan. He says, when do we think Roman comes back? I personally think we're aiming for in between SmackDown after Money in the Bank or at SummerSlam. I'm really curious on who is going to finish the original Bloodline due to the disadvantage in numbers they have, maybe Brock. I don't think Brock's going to touch the Bloodline. Well, let me say this. At least not against Roman. If Brock comes back, and I think he is, I don't know what his beef would be with anyone in the Bloodline. We kind of wrapped that up many, many, many months ago. And I don't think it's Brock coming back to do that. I think he appears on Raw. Raw is Brock's domain, it feels like. So, but as far as Roman, when? We are within 1 month. I would say, give or take a week, we're within 1 month. Again, it could happen tomorrow night. As early as tomorrow night would be the absolute earliest, but I still would advise against that. More likely, it's just before, at, or just after SummerSlam. My guess is they're trying to make SummerSlam as big as it is, trying to make it the WrestleMania of the summer, and they're going to 2 nights in a couple of years. You want Roman probably a part of SummerSlam. But there's also a case to be made of you want that big surprise, you want that big return. Roman could be that big return at SummerSlam. So for me, it's either between Money in the Bank and SummerSlam or at SummerSlam. All right, let's go to Aaron. Aaron C. He says, hey there, hope everything's going well. I've been subscribed for a few months now at the $10, and if I read correctly, one of the perks is I could come on the show once every 2 months. There you go. Let's join the conversation. Yes, you're correct, Aaron. Let's get on. Let's go. So if you want to come on, and obviously you have earned that right as a patron, being $10 a month every other month, then you can do, let's see, Week in Review or the Monday Night Raw review. Shoot me an email, Aaron. You tell me. All right. Charlie says, what's going on? Charlie from Milwaukee. You got your Money in the Bank predictions. Here we go with Charlie's. And then we're going to go to Jeffrey T after this with his predictions. Jey Uso wins to become Mr. Yeet in the Bank. Number 2, Chelsea Green becomes Mrs. Money in the Bank to become the first woman to fail her cash in on the Money in the Bank contract. Number 3, Braun Breaker beats Sami Zayn to win the IC belt with help from Chad Gable. 4, Seth Rollins beats Damian Priest to become the new World Heavyweight Champion, only to lose it to Gunther 1 month later. Number 5, Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens beat the Bloodline. After the match, Randy Orton gives an RKO to Cody, thus setting up a Randy versus Cody main event at SummerSlam. Wow. Thanks, everyone. Have a great 4th while eating lots of Nathan's hot dogs and safely enjoying fireworks. You know, that RKO from Randy is coming. We all know it's coming to Cody, and I think it's going to be a really fun story. The promos, the whole, the backstory of Legacy being there that they can pull on and pull from. But I don't know if it's the right time, because Solo versus Cody in a one-on-one for SummerSlam does seem to make more sense, because they want the setup for Roman to return. So Randy doing it, I mean, I think it's too soon. They have that in their back pocket that they could go to. But Randy is going to hit that RKO. I think in the next 6 to 12 months, you're going to see an RKO on Cody to set up a heel turn for Randy, which is always fun, and a Randy-Cody matchup. All right. Good stuff, Charlie. One more prediction here. Then we'll get to my predictions. Okay, Jeff. You say Jay and Tiffany win the briefcases. Jimmy Uso returns to help Cody and his team against the Bloodline, and Seth win the... okay. Let me repeat that. Jimmy Uso returns to help Cody and his team against the Bloodline, and Seth wins the championship before getting beat down by Gunther. Yeah, it's interesting. Gunther, I feel like, is part-time. I love Gunther. The fans respect the hell out of him. I don't know if I'd pull the trigger on him winning the belt yet, though. The beatdown of Rollins, sure, but Gunther is a very controlled man. He does things respectfully, but people hate him because he's from another country. His entrance music is boring. He's not entertaining the way that they like their baby faces to be entertaining nowadays. But really, Gunther is all about respect. His entire character, his entire mission has been about finding respectable opponents to challenge him, about respecting the ring. Everything's been about respecting this business, and yet people boo him. It's wild when you think about it. But thanks, Jeff. Do we have a voicemail? I feel like we do, but I'm too damn lazy. Let's see. Hold on. I don't want to deny somebody from a potential. Yeah, okay. We've got one voicemail. And then after this voicemail, guys, we're going to get to my preview and predictions for the event. So let's see who it is.
Hi, Matt. It's Bevan from Australia here. Hope you're well, mate. Just listening to your Raw review, and you mentioned that, Oblivion is a true finisher at the moment for Liv Morgan. What about, is it the End of Days by Baron Corbin? Isn't that, I haven't seen anyone kick out of that, but then I might be wrong. But I thought that one just sprung to mind, so I'm not sure. But correct me if I'm wrong on that one. Also, the ridiculous Samoan Spike, is that one ever being kicked out of? I'm actually asking the question because I have no idea. But anyway, that's all I've got. I'm still enjoying the show, just been very busy on this side of the world. So, yeah, all good. Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.
Bevan, good to hear from you, man. Hope all is well on the other side of the globe. Now, there was somebody that kicked out of the end of days. It was Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania 38. So he became the first person to kick out of it. So it did happen. I believe it was WrestleMania 38 that we had Drew McIntyre kick out of it. So that is no longer a protected finish. The Samoan Spike, I also think you might be right on that. I even think with who used it in the past. We had, who was it? Umaga use it in the past. I'm pretty sure no one's ever kicked out of that. So I think the Samoan Spike also may be protected, but Oblivion, I believe, again, outside of the Samoan Spike, maybe the only finish no one's ever kicked out of. So good to hear from you, Bevan. Hope you enjoyed the event. All right. Let's talk about Money in the Bank, guys, as we transition here to my thoughts and my predictions to the Money in the Bank event that comes to us tomorrow night. And let's start with the what match do I want to start with? Let's start with Jey Uso, Carmelo Hayes, Andrade, Chad Gable, LA Knight, and Drew. This is a match that I know a lot of people are looking at Drew for, and Jey Uso was the first one to declare for it or qualify. Was he the first one to qualify? I think he was. And Jay was talking about it before the Clash of the Castle PLE was even completed. So first of all, Carmelo, Andrade, and Chad all are not real candidates, I don't think. So you have LA Knight, Drew, and Jay. LA Knight, I think you're pushing him into the U.S. title picture, even though he'd be a fun candidate. I still believe it's going to be LA Knight and Logan Paul, with him eventually beating Logan Paul for the U.S. title. So LA Knight's kind of out. That leaves Jay and Drew. Jay could be a really fun option, but when you look at who's world champion on Raw, Seth is, right? Sorry. I should back up. Priest is. Seth, I think, is very close to it. If Seth becomes champion, that means that we have Jay with the Money in the Bank briefcase. We have Seth with the World Heavyweight Championship. I think Punk is eventually going to challenge Seth for that title and get into a program after he's done with Drew. That would mean that we have Jey Uso carrying the belt and carrying the briefcase. And it is also usually designed for a heel to win. So I don't think Jay fits the bill. That has not been his MO, is, having his first major championship win under kind of shady circumstances, shall we say. Drew, on the other hand, is a very solidified heel that has been doing nothing but taking advantage of situations over the last 6 to 12 months and doing a brilliant job of it. And it's designed for a heel to win. And having him cash in and have Punk screw him kills two birds with one stone. The downside is, again, you don't have that looming question or allowability or flexibility of a potential world title change with the briefcase holder and holding it for many months, if you think that's an advantage at all. So Drew, to me, I think that you guys hit it on the head. I think Drew wins, tries to cash in, Punk screws him again, but doesn't screw him until he tries to cash in. That's what I think. Okay, women's Money in the Bank: Io, Chelsea, Lyra, Tiffany, Naomi, Zoe. For the women's, for a shot at the women's title. Well, let's see who's not going to win. Io, no chance. Lyra, no chance. Naomi, less than no chance. Zoe Stark might as well be invisible because she's got her chances are about as good as. I was going to come up with something horrible. It's not a good chance. Okay. That leaves Chelsea and Tiffany Stratton as your real options. Now, Tiffany's a serious winner. Chelsea is the kind of the winner that you would look at as she lucked into it. It's funny. She would play it off well. But do you want to make a mockery of the Money in the Bank ladder match or Money in the Bank briefcase when you know Chelsea's not going to win and she'll be the first one to lose with the women's title online, cashing in the briefcase, which means that 100% stat will then decrease significantly because there hasn't been as many women's Money in the Bank briefcases as there has been men's in the past. So if you have Chelsea lose, that's going to bring the percentage down by like, I mean, I don't know the exact math, but probably by like 15% at least, because there have not been as many women's ladder matches. So having one out of like 7 or 8 that there have been, then that's going to be a higher percentage than if it was, there already were 30 of them and only one person loses, and okay, it's 98% now, right? So did they want to hurt that stat, or do they want to continue with that stat saying 100% of the women who have won the briefcase have cashed in successfully? I would go with Tiffany. I wouldn't mess around. I know Chelsea is fun. I understand it. She's kind of she's an all-in goofy character. She is entertaining. But Tiffany, I think, would benefit more from this than Chelsea. But I think Chelsea's going to come real close. There'll be a moment where we all believe she can. Tiffany should be the one to win it here. Okay. And I think she's going to hold it for a long time. Damian and Seth. World Heavyweight Championship on the line. Last chance for Seth to win. If he wins, Damian's out of the Judgment Day. If Damian wins, Seth can never challenge for the title as long as Damian's champion. This, to me, and I continue to say this, has been a pretty solid answer for me for several weeks. And that is, I think Seth wins. Do I say it's slam dunk? No. Because I said that the last time that maybe, Damian finally could lose it here, and he retained. And everyone's like, whoa, what the hell? But I think it's time. Why? One word, Gunther. The reason is you're not going to have Damian Priest versus Gunther at SummerSlam. That is not a marquee matchup. Damian Priest is not that big of a star yet. Seth Rollins, on the other hand, taking on Gunther at SummerSlam is. Now, does that mean Damian still can't be involved in the world title match at SummerSlam? No, you could probably get him into a triple threat if they want to go that road. But if it's one-on-one, Seth is winning. And I think he does win. I think it's like a 60-40, 70-30 chance that Seth wins. I think he's a solid to pretty heavy favorite because it makes sense. And Damian Priest being out of the Judgment Day makes sense because they've been teasing that and having the tension between Damian and specifically Finn Balor build for weeks. And I think that one of the emailers earlier kind of hit it on the head too with it'll look like the Judgment Day's out there to help him, but maybe Finn Balor does something questionable that he could have plausible deniability that I was trying to help and what happened. So I think that's what's going to happen. All right. By the way, going to be a really good match. Sammy versus Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental title. I want Braun Breaker here. And I know a lot of you out there think Braun Breaker's a one move guy. He's not. Take a look at his, moveset. He is young. His music needs to change because it sucks. But I think that they're on a hot streak with Braun that they could use this to continue to push him even further. Sammy, I think, honestly, has been boring as an Intercontinental Champion. And I don't want to say, well, you wanted him to beat Gunther, and now you got what you want. No, I never did. I never wanted him to beat Gunther. It was Chad Gables to be had. I'm still a little bit spicy about that decision. Sami Zayn as Intercontinental Champion has been boring. I think he would be much more suited to be involved in the storyline with the Bloodline if he wants to be. When Roman returns and the reunion of the OG and yet Sammy gets involved, yes. I think Braun Breaker should win for a lot of reasons, mainly because Sammy's run is kind of petered out. And I think Braun Breaker could benefit. All right. Cody Rhodes, Randy, KO versus the Bloodline. In any combination of Solo, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and Jacob Fatu. I don't know which of those three, but one of those three, obviously. In a 6-man tag team match, the Bloodline wins here. And I think you'll start to see maybe some tension teasing of future things to happen between Cody and Randy, or KO and Cody, or Cody and Randy, any of the combinations. I don't think anyone's going to turn, but I think you're going to see signs that things could be breaking apart at some point for them to have future rivalries with one another. And also, you could, although I think unlikely, have a returning Roman Reigns here with Paul Heyman coming out at the end and doing what I said before, smiling. Maybe the Bloodline is beating down, because at that point it'll be 4-on-3, right? Even no matter who out of those Bloodline faces Randy, KO, and Cody in the tag team match, you know that fourth person in the bloodline is going to eventually intervene and cost them the match. They should win, by the way. The bloodline should win because they want to look as strong and dangerous as possible heading into the SummerSlam season, heading into a Roman return, a Rock return, maybe again, Sami Zayn, Paul Heyman coming back. So I think you have a potential real first time now that we could have a Roman Reigns return. Do I think it's going to happen? No, but I don't say that confidently. You can hear it in my voice. I don't feel confident that Roman's not going to be back tomorrow night. It's very possible. I would say, again, 55% no to 45% yes. I'm just over the line of probably not, but very possible in a real situation where you could bring him back. With Paul Heyman standing on stage at the end of the show, they're beating down KO, Cody, and Randy. They're just bludgeoning those three men. Those four, the four bloodline members are destroying him. And then Paul Heyman comes out. Maybe he's limping. He's got like bandages on his head or a neck brace. And then he just smiles maniacally and Roman Reigns' music hits. I mean, very, very possible. And it'd be a hell of a way to end the show. But it's, again, equally as likely, if not slightly more likely, that you have the bloodline, the rogue bloodline here, just standing tall after bludgeoning these three men, building even further to a Roman Reigns anticipated return. So that's how I think we end the show. It's one of those two, but probably more likely that it's just a typical end of the show with heat on the bloodline with more "we want Roman" chants. So, but all right. That'll do it for me, guys. I appreciate it. If you want to go ad-free, great time to do it heading into the PLE and heading into SummerSlam season. Head on over to patreon.com/WWE podcast. You can go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe there. 1 week for free is available to you. And if you want to take the yearly option, you get 2 months for free. So there's that. If you want to go that road, you can also go to WWEpodcast.com. and join us there on the website. That's still a thing. If you do stream audio on the website, it is available to you if you want to go that road. So that'll do it for me, everybody. I'll be checking out the Discord server. I don't know if I'll be participating, but I'll kind of just be watching, seeing what you guys are doing. Not in a weird, like parental way, just kind of seeing what kind of fun you guys are having. And, don't forget, tomorrow will be the SmackDown review early in the day from Amanda. You guys heard her last week. And she's new to the show. She was on as a co-host a few times over the last several months, but she is now in the official part of the team as the SmackDown review host. And you guys, by the way, if you want to get a hold of Amanda, I know some of you asked on Twitter. Let's see, let me get her Twitter handle correct for you. It is Amanda SD Pod. So Amanda SD Pod on Twitter. If you want to go follow her, I'm sure she'd appreciate it, as she has just jumped into the social media realm and becoming an official part of the show. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Enjoy Money in the Bank. We'll be back on the other side with the review show, probably on Sunday. Until then, take care, and I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.